Assalamu alaikum brothers and sisters. Today's story is about Sayyiduna Idris alayhi salam. So, without further ado, let's start our video. It was time when humanity was still in its infancy. To understand Idris, we must first imagine the world he was born into. The world had only recently emerged from creation of Adam, the first human and prophet. Humanity, scattered and small in number, was beginning to find its place on the earth. They were just learning how to plant crops, build shelters, and navigate the natural forces that surrounded them. It was this young world, fragile and new, that Idris was born in. A time before nations and kingdoms, before written laws and great monuments. In some traditions, it's said that Idris was born in Babylon, one of the earliest cradles of human civilizations. In others, he's said to have lived in ancient Egypt, where the Nile nourished life along its fertile banks. Regardless of where Idris's feet first touched the earth, his significance would soon transcend geography. But before we dig deeper in the story of Idris alayhi salam, we have to know how was the period between Sayyidina Adam and Sayyidina Idris like. Among Adam's many children were his sons Qabil and Habil, whose story reflects the fundamental human struggle between righteousness and sin. When Allah commanded them to offer sacrifices, Habil, a shepherd, presented the finest of his flock with sincerity and devotion. On the other hand, Qabil, a farmer, offered inferior produce, holding back the best for himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted Habil's sincere offering, igniting a flame of jealousy in Qabil's heart. Consumed by envy and pride, Qabil confronted Habil, threatening his life. Despite Habil's commitment to peace and his refusal to harm his brother, Qabil succumbed to his baser instincts, committing the first murder in human history. In the aftermath, Qabil was overwhelmed by guilt and confusion, not knowing how to deal with his brother's body. Allah, in His mercy, sent a crow scratching the ground to show Qabil how to bury the dead, introducing the practice of burial. This tragic event underscored the destructive power of jealousy and the sanctity of human life, setting a precedent for the moral law that would govern humanity. Deeply grieved by the loss of Habil and troubled by Qabil's transgression, Adam found solace in the birth of another son, Sheeth alayhi salam, whose name means gift from Allah. Recognizing Sheeth's piety and wisdom, Adam appointed him as his successor, entrusting him with the responsibility of guiding their family and upholding the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sheeth alayhi salam was bestowed with prophethood, continuing the mission to reinforce monotheism and moral integrity among the people. He received divine revelation and was instrumental in combating the early signs of idolatry and corruption that began to surface. Through his leadership, Sheeth alayhi salam maintained the purity of faith and ensured that the teachings of his father Adam remained alive in the hearts of the believers. His life exemplifies the importance of steadfastness in the face of moral decline and the duty of righteousness individuals to lead and protect their communities from straying into error. And here we come to Idris alayhi salam. Idris alayhi salam was a direct descendant of Adam, as we told you earlier, through Sheeth, linking him to the foundational teachings of monotheism and righteousness. Known for his profound wisdom and devotion, Idris was chosen by Allah to be a prophet during a time when humanity was in dire need of guidance. By the time of Idris' birth, several generations had passed since Adam alayhi salam. And while Adam had been the first to guide humanity, warning them of the dangers of straying from Allah's path, people had begun to forget. Idolatry was creeping into the hearts of men, and moral corruption was spreading. People were living for the present, focusing on survival, pleasure, and power, forgetting their essence, their creator, and the purpose of their existence. In the face of this growing ignorance, Allah chose Idris as a prophet. His mission was clear: to call people back to the worship of Allah, to cleanse their hearts from the worship of false idols and to remind them of the eternal truth that had been revealed through Adam. But this wasn't a simple task, for the people had become attached to their misguided ways. Idris was sent to a world that had started to drift away from its source, and he would become the one to remind them of their true origin. One of the most extraordinary contributions of Idris in his role as the first person to write with a pen. At this time, human memory was the only vessel for knowledge. Oral tradition was fragile. Stories, teachings, and wisdom could be lost within a single generation, if not passed down perfectly. Idris understood the power of memory, but he also recognized its limitations. In a world where life was transient and memories even more so, something had to change. And so Idris introduced the written word. He was the first to inscribe symbols, to translate thoughts into tangible form, and to preserve knowledge for future generations. He knew that knowledge, when written, could transcend time, that it could reach those who had not yet been born. With every stroke of his pen, Idris planted the seeds of civilization. His people may not have understood the full magnitude of what was happening, but the introduction of writing was a transformative event in human history. It was more than just a tool for communication. It was a bridge that connected the past to the future, the transient to the eternal. Through writing, Idris not only recorded divine revelation, but also documented the practical wisdom of time, ethics, morality, medicine, and the sciences. He understood that knowledge was not just sacred in a spiritual sense, but sacred in its ability to improve human life. But Idris' intellect didn't stop at writing. While others lived in the moment, Idris sought to understand the deeper patterns that govern existence. He was a man who saw the hand of the Creator in every detail of the universe. While his people might have been marveled at the stars in the sky as symbol points of light, Idris saw something much greater. He saw order, design, and purpose. It's said that Idris was the first to study the stars, the first to engage in astronomy. To him, the stars were not just objects in the heavens, they were divine signs placed there by Allah to guide humanity. He studied their movements, recorded their patterns, and understood that the universe itself was a grand reflection of Allah's wisdom. The heavens were a book written in light, and Idris was among the first to learn how to read it. His exploration of the cosmos wasn't limited to the intellectual curiosity. For Idris alayhi salam, understanding the stars wasn't an act of worship. The more he understood the heavens, the more he understood the greatness of Allah. To Idris, the natural world and the divine were intertwined, and the pursuit of scientific knowledge was a way of deepening his faith. There is something unique about Idris that sets him apart from many other prophets. While all prophets are messengers of Allah, calling their people back to righteousness, Idris had a special relationship with the divine that transcended the earthly plane. His knowledge, his wisdom, his unwavering devotion, these qualities elevated him to a status beyond the ordinary. The Quran described Idris as a man of truth and patience. But more than that, it says, "And we raised him to a high station." This phrase has sparked centuries of reflection. What does it mean for a man to be raised? Some scholars suggested that Idris, because of his righteousness and deep understanding, was physically taken up to the heavens during his lifetime. Others believe this referred to his elevated spiritual status, a soul so connected to the divine that he transcended the limitations of earthly existence. In our religion, Islam holds that Idris was granted a special journey, an ascension to the heavens with the permission of Allah. He was taken by the angel of death, Azrael, on a journey through the celestial realms. It's said that Idris witnessed the workings of the universe firsthand. He saw the mechanisms of life and death and was given insights into the divine order that governed all things. Imagine for a moment a human being lifted from the dust of the earth to the infinite expanses of the heaven. Imagine a man who had spent his life seeking knowledge, now being shown the ultimate truths. Idris' ascension is not just a physical event, it's symbolic of his entire life. His journey was always one of the elevation of raising humanity through knowledge, of raising the soul through devotion, and finally, of being raised himself to a realm beyond the human. So what then is the legacy of Idris? His contributions, both intellectual and spiritual, are immeasurable. As the first to write, he laid the foundation for civilization. As the first astronomer, he opened humanity's eyes to the order of the cosmos. As a prophet, he called his people back to the worship of the true one God. But Idris' legacy is not confined to the past. His life is a message for all of us today. His relentless pursuit of knowledge teaches us that seeking truth, whether in science, philosophy, or religion itself, is not just a human desire, but a divine imperative. His journey reminds us that faith and reason are not opposing forces. In fact, they are two paths that lead to the same truth. True one God, Allah. In the modern world where we often separate science from spirituality, Idris stands a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge can be a form of worship. Whether we are studying the stars or writing a book, we are, in a sense, following in the footsteps of Idris. Every question we ask, every discovery we make, brings us closer to the understanding of Allah's creation and, by extension, Allah Himself. And finally, brothers and sisters, Idris' ascension symbolizes the ultimate journey of the soul. His life shows us that when we seek truth, when we commit ourselves to righteousness, we too can ascend, not necessarily in a physical sense, but spiritually, intellectually, and morally. Idris was raised to a high station, but that station is not close to us. It's a path we are all invited to walk. Idris began his journey in the early dawn of human history. He was born in a world where people had forgotten their creator, but through his knowledge, his wisdom, and his unwavering faith, he helped them remember. He introduced writing to preserve knowledge, studied the stars to understand divine order, and ascended to the heavens as a testament to the heights that the human soul can reach. Today, his legacy lives on in every book written, in every star observed, in every truth uncovered. Idris' life is a reminder that our journey toward knowledge and truth is never truly over. It's an internal search, one that brings us closer to understanding not just the universe, but the creator of the universe. In conclusion, the interconnected stories of Adam, Sheeth, Qabil, Habil, and Idris form the early chapters of humanity's spiritual journey. They illustrate the consistent message of Islam, the oneness of Allah, the importance of righteousness living, and the pursuit of knowledge. Their lives remind us that the challenges faced by early humanity, temptation, jealousy, moral decay, are still present until today. The solutions they embodied: obedience to Allah, sincere worship, righteous leadership, and the advancement of knowledge, serve as enduring guides for us as we navigate the complexities of modern life. The legacy of these prophets calls us to reflect on our choices. Are we upholding the principles they taught? Are we seeking knowledge and using it to benefit others? Are we resisting the temptation that led to moral decline? Are we? By connecting with their stories, we find inspiration to strive for a higher purpose, to seek closeness to Allah, and to contribute to the betterment of humanity. Their legacy is not just a historical account, but a living guide that continues to illuminate the path of righteousness for all who choose to follow it. And so, this was a long video, I know, in our very early Islamic history. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share the knowledge with our brothers and sisters to know more about our great religion, Islam. Salam.